is mindset coaching for individuals that you're doing now, that you started doing recently, which you've been doing before, but this is a little variant of it, I guess you would say. So you take persons through a 6-week course and you look at things like reviewing their relationship with money, healing traumas, eliminating self-doubt, and helping persons to have a successful life and an abundant life financially. So it sounds like a very holistic approach.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to know, just kind of explain to us how this mindset coaching works.
Yes. So I didn't go very in depth when I was doing coaching solo with it before. So I occasionally touched on it. So let me tell you how it works. So basically the concept is this, and I have to explain how the mind works first. If you imagine a glacier, right? An iceberg. You see an iceberg, you see the part above the surface, and there's this giant monstrous part below the surface. Our conscious mind, the part that we call Ashana, AC, Nicole, is what's above the surface. 85% is the subconscious mind below the surface. In other words, we're not consciously aware that's happening. From the ages of 0 to 7, our mind is in a certain brainwave state, which is called theta, which you're basically in almost like a trance. So if anyone has children, you'll notice, this is kind of a funny one. You swear once, you thought they're sleeping. A week later, they're saying that word, and you're like, where did that come from? I said, the reason is their brain all the time is in this trance-like state. They learn by observation. They can't have an adult dialogue with you. They're a child. So they're very heart-centered. So like when parents are fighting, they may think they're fighting. I did something bad. I'm bad. They're fighting about money. Money bad. I did something bad. So the correlation from a child's perspective is not what an adult would think. So don't think logically from where you are now. But I'm just telling you how a child perceives this. And what happens is these events, which may seem non-existent to the parents fighting or to whatever, and it could be like something tragic or like a sexual abuse or some sort of other kind of quote unquote typical abuse, but literally can be like, why'd you say that? Like, let's say something what seems to the adult like little, like, why'd you say that? That's so stupid. Come on, go over here. Like that little statement, no joke, can traumatize an adult for life. And so what we do in mindset coaching is...
What you mean traumatize a child?
Yep. So let's say for life. So let's say you have a 5-year-old and they hear that once. It varies from person to person. Every person's affected by a different way. And most people have many traumas, but usually there's 1 or 2 or 3 that are major. And usually caused by big stuff, divorce, but it could be like we're poor, there's a handful of things. But so what we do in mindset coaching is we go with that person, we kind of go deep and we they identify, but we take them to identifying what it is. We actually are usually with that younger version of them, we call it inner child, at that time, and find out what the heck was said, what was felt, and basically heal that, okay? And by going deep, and it's in the moment, you'll probably cry. Like I cried like a child when it was done for me, okay? And I'm very heart-centered and all that, but it takes a lot for John to cry typically. Anyway, so I'm like crying. And you're going deep, and when you visit the inner child, they're like, this is what happened. And so, for example, I'll just take John, for example. I had 2 that popped up. Bing, bing. One was like 5 or 4, and one was like a teenager, 15 or 16. And because I had severe depression as a teenager, and as a child, we moved around constantly, and I had a lot of issues about my father because he was never around. Like we had certain things. And the different versions of me would be upset about different things. And once they began to heal, I, as an adult, so I kind of went through this, and we began basically, once we identified the problems, came back. I'm not going to take you through the whole process, but basically we give them to the adult version of us. We say, I'll take this on from you, little Johnny. I'll just use me. Little Johnny, I'll take this pain from you. I take it from little Johnny, and I literally feel it, by the way. And then I see Johnny go run off and play. He's happy now, but I have this burden. And if anyone has seen the movie Green Mile, anyone seen the movie Green Mile?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I took it on. So I feel like the Green Mile character. He's what a great movie. And then, but then you let it go. You let it go into the universe. Partially, it actually kind of reminds me of the exercise. But anyway, you let it go. And then at that point, it's free of you and free of little Johnny or little version of you. And then after that, so you've started the healing process. And my gosh, do you feel light? Like you need 2 days to recover from what you just did. But then from there, it's a slowly letting go. And so for me, I began to heal a whole bunch of stuff by doing that. And then the process from there is to basically, it's like an onion. So that was the main core layer. We got past the biggie. And you know, when you peel an onion, there's another layer, there's another layer. So how the brain works is it compartmentalizes trauma. So let's say I have 2 or 3 big trauma events. We go through dealing with one, with little Johnny. We heal it, not entirely, but we heal it over the next week or 2. And then boom, something I had totally forgotten that happened XYZ years. Like, oh man, I forgot about that. It was horrible. I'm mad, I'm hurt. We go, we clean up, we heal. And then that's gone. And now a new layer pops up. And our brain says, and by the way, your brain will never give you too much that you can't handle. In other words, you're always going to be able to heal what your brain has in it now. So once you transmute something and heal something, and this is something that people realize, a new thing pops up, which is fine. It means you are ready for this new thing, which is why people will literally like forget what happened when they were abused and all this kind of stuff, because your brain hides it from you because you can't emotionally handle it. So as you begin to heal and let things go, you become lighter and lighter and lighter. And the blessing is on the end, the far side of the spectrum, is you literally become the person that you wanted to be. So for example, I had limiting thought patterns a lot around money. Well, they're all self-worth related, but self-worth. And what happened is as I began doing this work, and it's work, like I'm not going to say this is play, because a lot of it makes you cry. It's not the funnest thing. But the thing is, we often just repress it. Like, I wasn't upset. So I just push it down. Like, I didn't feel anything. So you have to be ready to face your crap. If you're ready to face your crap, it's worthwhile. But 6 weeks is a starting place. I would say 6 to 13 weeks is a real typical time frame. But we help people deal and heal with their traumas. And then literally like their money problems. Like, this is no joke. Ashana, we had a woman who was as broke as you can think. She could afford our services, but wasn't doing so hot. By the end of about a month and a half, roughly 6 weeks, she had literally manifested an entire house. I think it was about $1.5 million house that it was a miraculous thing. But the point is, a lot of what she cleared, which didn't seem to have anything to do with money, she had issues with money, but she had all these other issues. We cleared up a lot of the other issues, and all of a sudden she didn't become wealthy, but she's like, I got my house. Like, it was her big dream. It was such one of those wonderful moments. But to see her, she was like a glowing, like angelic person after doing it. So for us, it's very fulfilling and heart-centered. And I have a business partner. And what's cool is we're very different. So she will do some stuff, I'll do other stuff. So we use different methodologies and such to kind of do the healing. But it's that we call it transformational mindset coaching, because it literally, these people, when they finish, they're not the same people. So I'll tell you why I started the company. And I know this is a nice long diatribe, and I really appreciate how good a listener.
No, this is great. You know what, actually, yesterday, what happened when yesterday was the first interview for this year.
Yeah.
And afterwards, when I was reflecting, I was like, one of the things that happens when I do the interviews is I feel like I become a better listener. So I feel like that's really important to me. So, instead of being like reactive and wanting to jump in, so it helps me just be a calmer person. Just because you really have to wait until the person has really said what they want to say. And it's like, it helps me become even better at having harmonious interactions. That's kind of off topic, but it's you talk.
Okay. So it's allowed me to do 2 things. One, and one of the reasons I found it so important is I've been doing business coaching since 2016. And technically, people would have technical fixes, and the fixes would have a level of benefit, but they'd always self-sabotage. And self-sabotage is an effect of their stuff not being dealt with. So what's been wonderful is what we do now is we take people, we clean up their head, do tech. So not everyone's a business owner, maybe 20, 30%, but those who are business owners, we're still happy. Like she does, the lady I work with does marketing stuff. So she can help them with that. I can do John's technical geek mind on the business stuff. But the nice thing is they are now out of their own way. Okay. And then the other major blessing for Johnny Boy here is I'm a deeply spiritual person. I'm not a corporate business coach. That's just not who John is. So I don't resonate with that language they use, the style that it's just not my thing. We get clients, and I'm sure I'll continue to get clients that may fit that, but the majority are people who are open, spiritually minded. Doesn't matter religion, because the religions don't say we have every single religion you can fathom we have as clients. That's not the point. The people who have a level open spiritually, because we're kind of going deep here, and a lot of people as well have kind of almost subtle spiritual awakenings as we go through this too. Because if you think about it, what kind of like the fasting, when you fast, you're kind of at that point there's nothing to deal with but your inside crap, which by the way is the ultimate mindset coaching hack. But it's just really neat to see these people go through this, and if they're not comfortable being able to talk about the little things that are popping up spiritually, like no joke, we have someone who is probably the most non-spiritual person you can fathom that we've had as a client, who literally became like a crazy empath. She can go to a room now and she can feel how every single person's feeling. Without touching them, without looking at them, she goes, all right, he had this happen, this has happened, oh, and she can feel everything. She says it's really hard for her because she feels everything. And she's like, my God, my whole office is miserable. And so it's a very interesting thing, but it's like a lot of people have like, and there are different kinds of spiritual, I guess you call them spiritual awakening. But the point is every person has the ability to be a tremendously spiritual being. But us working so hard, us doing the 9 to 5, thinking about survival, food, putting a house overhead, all that stuff prevents us from becoming the magnificent spiritual beings we are. And that's a nice side effect we get with the coaching as well. So those who are like, I'm open to this, we had several people who have had, and it's never the same thing. So not everyone's going to have this empathetic thing to happen. But it was cool because this is the least spiritual person. I mean, this is like a stereotypical corporate lady, and it's an international. She's from, I can't tell you because she watches it, but but not even from Trinidad. She lived here temporarily, and a wonderful, wonderful lady. And it's just really interesting to see someone who is like the antithesis of someone who would be spiritual, be like, I know what you're feeling right now. And the cool thing about her, she's like, I know you guys really love and appreciate me. I can feel that. I'm like, aw, but she can feel that, So before she was just completely, it was like a big block. So it's very fascinating to watch people go through this and for them to experience these things.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I know exactly what you mean, because even with our company that we do interventions with companies, a lot of the time I've experienced exactly what you're talking about, which is where you can give someone a technical thing to do or a practical fix. But unless you get to the deeper thing that's happening under the surface, it's kind of like, for me, it just felt like a waste of time, to be honest, and like a waste of energy. It's like you're just throwing energy into a black hole because there's just something there that's blocking the deeper transformation from happening, and it's just like you're just throwing away money and time and energy. And for me, actually, it's a little frustrating navigating those things, but I won't get too deep into that. But I know exactly what you're saying, because sometimes we go into companies and I see the companies and they say they want this and they want this, they want this, they want to make all this money, whatever. But I can see all the issues that are happening with the individuals working there within the company culture, and it's like, we can give you all those things that you're saying you want, that you think you want. But I know at the end of the day, it's not going to fix nothing because you'll need to, because you'll need some therapy. That's what you'll need. And I can say that as a person who has done a lot of therapy, okay? And I know like therapy is majorly important in life.
And
So,
we're not here to replace therapy.
exactly.
We're not, because it's kind of a different therapy. Usually takes it a little slower. It's kind of a little, ours is let's deal with this. And if you're not ready to deal with this, go to therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Or if
sometimes,
it's
yeah, because they're like, we want these services, we want this, we want to make more money. And in my mind, sometimes I'm just thinking, no, what you actually need is therapy. That's what you really need. But I know you think you need this other thing. So I'm not even going to present that to you because it's not going to go anywhere. It'll just be an argument. Not an argument, but there'll just be no receiving of the message. But I just be listening and I'll just be thinking, no, that's not, no, you'll need to go to therapy. And I was like, and no shade because I like, listen, I think I've done more therapy than like 80% of Trinidad. And I think I still need therapy. So, so yeah, so I understand exactly what you mean about if you don't really get to the source of things, you're just going to keep treating these symptoms and you're just going to be never endingly treating these symptoms as opposed to really clearing out something and really transforming it so you get a new result. Um, so I was going to ask this question, but I feel like you kind of touched on it when you said that you had that lady who had the brilliant results in terms of getting a house or having the house that she dreamed of. But I was going to ask about some of the results that you've had doing this mindset coaching with person.
well, I mean, very, very simply, they get out of their own way. So the things they actually want, they start doing. Whereas before, they would start 2 weeks into it, self-sabotage. Start 2 weeks, self-sabotage. Like it was this repetitive kind of thing. So well, assuming it's dealt with, the self-sabotage will mitigate. And it takes a while. And actually this kind of goes back, they have to do the work. If the person is unwilling to, if they are not ready, kind of like the peeps you're talking about, you got these cool, like, hey, I can help you guys. Like, but you really need therapy. But they would say no because they don't feel like they need it. They're not ready, something along those lines. And someone really should, I mean, one of the blessings of being a human is we have free will. So because of that, they don't have to have therapy, but it doesn't mean that they're going to have the life they want or the business they want. And but those who are ready and willing, because early on we took people who weren't quite ready and it wasn't as much fun because it's work for us. But someone who's really and willing, they're like, bring it on.
Yeah.
Every session is like not every session's a crying session, but many sessions will be like deep and they're like, yes. And like, it's amazing what they go through. Yeah. But from like an energy level or vibrational level, the amount of levity and positivity and conscious awareness of just being like they're much more present at the moment. Yeah. They have a natural affinity to have a level of gratitude and appreciation. So like just from an energetic level. Yeah. So they stop self-sabotaging and energetically, if you were to meet the before and after, you'd want to hug the after, and the before you're like kind of, hey, you're good, stay where you are, but they become much more heart-centered. They so all the natural outside stuff comes into play. They do make more money. The businesses start working. They get better relationships. They heal the stuff that they never wanted to look at. That does happen, but it's how they feel and how they present themselves. They almost have a glow. Eventually, not all initially, but eventually they get a nice glow just because the divine part of them is just weighed down and I would say covered up by a blanket of these traumas. And as we heal them, that glow becomes more natural and they become so beautiful. Like every session, you're like, it's like seeing an old friend. It's like every time I see Ashana, I'm like, Ashana, how you doing? Certain people you're just like, That wasn't a mama guy, you see. I'm just being honest. Um,
No, they didn't actually say mama guy that time.
I know, right? But the point is when you see some people like, how are
Yeah,
you doing?
yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah,
and the vibe changes to that, and
yeah,
they're like, oh, I love you too. Okay, cool, let's go to work.
yeah,
You know, so and the neat thing is once we get to there, you would think the work's done, but the work's not, because then they're like, I don't know what I want to do in my life. I'm like, great, let's help you do that. You know what I mean? Because it was like
yes,
once the crap is done,
yes,
I'm starting to make a little money, and that's nice, but I don't know what I want to do. So then we start like working on where they truly want to be, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of like phase 2, if you will,
yeah,
of so there's usually a couple of phases. So clean up the crap. They begin to stop self-sabotaging, to simplify. If there's a business owner, we do the business technical stuff little by little as they clean up. And then they're not always happy even being the business owner because they did it out of necessity versus like their true desire for fulfillment. So for me, what I'm doing now, I love the business stuff because I'm a total technical geek, but I also love this stuff. Because if I can help people literally be of greater service to the mankind and like change the world in the way they can change the world, that is 100 times more fulfilling than this guy doubling his income. It's like, so my preference is like when I take new business clients on, I'm like, if you're not open to spiritual stuff, this ain't fun for me. So I want to do stuff that helps them, even if it's just John solo. It's usually not. Most of my business is falling with both of us, but my preference is always to help, so I can help them do this greater level of service. Because there's nothing better than seeing a person like, I love what I do all day, and
yeah,
I just see them. I'm like, how are you doing? I'm good. I'm good.
yeah,
And they're not BSing, because so many people.
yeah,
One of the things that really that's kind of thing kind of drove me a little nuts about when we're talking about followers and following earlier is I just got the vibe that people's lives are much more sucky than they were showing,
yeah,
and rarely was there someone like, I'm good,
yeah,
like, and I wanted that. And if I saw that, I'm like, I like him. And
yeah,
it's not that I'm anti those other people. I'm just saying, like, I want to be with people who are living the life they want to live.
yeah,
And if I can help people to move in that direction, which is why I'm here, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm in a much more service to the rest of the world mode right now, which feels amazing, and it's much more fulfilling than the purely technical. Happy to go there, will go there, but if I can make you become just this dripping with love and appreciation for the life you're having, that is so much more enriching than an increase in revenue, which will
yeah.
naturally happen when you're in love with life and yourself.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, especially in terms of where you said before, even the interactions where you're trying to help people is kind of like, I think you didn't say drag, but it's a little bit more difficult. You kind of feel like you're just putting in all this energy and like you're pushing.
It's a drag. It's a drag.
Yeah, yeah. But I know exactly what you mean because we are working with companies and it's like, you're just like, but then when persons kind of unlock that kind of flow and that energy,
Mm-hmm.
like it's like an orchestra, like everything just flows together so well, like just the moment, like they're really ready, and then what you have to offer is just the right fit in the moment, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
like a natural evolution of life, and everything is just, it's so easy. It's like you give the message and they receive it in the moment, and like you're so connected and so resonant that you don't have
Mm-hmm.
to say a lot, they just get it. And
Yes.
I just, I think, over the last few years, that's what's happening now, where everybody's energies are being lifted and everybody's becoming more attuned. So everything's kind of just flowing easier. And for me, I just have to say praise Jesus, because oh my gosh, oh my gosh,
Amen.
oh my gosh. So those are